Good evening, or should I say maybe late afternoon. Welcome to this video. My name is Lars Haukeland and I'm getting ready to record video number 3 in the series that's called Supernatural Reality. Now it's beautiful weather outside, almost 30 degrees, but I'm still happy to be in my study and record this video, and also I'm happy when I sit here and I study. I need to do some tidying here, which is something I don't enjoy as much doing. But before I start this video, can I just mention 2 things to you? First of all, I'm a Norwegian, so when I pronounce things, sometimes it comes out wrong, and I might think that I'm pronouncing it right, and I don't know any better. But I just want you to be aware that if I say a word that sounds weird, then just try to look at the context and try to understand what I'm meaning and what I'm talking about. And normally you can, if you have a whole sentence, you can work out a little bit what it's supposed to be if you keep the word and just try to change it just a little bit there. Now this is, as I say, English is not my native language, and I realized that sometimes I say things wrong. I was preaching in Germany this summer, and of course I had an interpreter, because I know a little bit of German, but not enough to preach in German. But sometimes, you know, the translator stopped and said and asked me again about some of the words that I was using, and the reason was because I was pronouncing it wrongly, and I just want you to be aware of this. I know that some that I talk to, they say that my English is good, my English is brilliant, and all these kind of things, but I know that I do have my limitations. I am far from perfect, but as long as you can understand what I'm saying, then I'm happy. Now, second thing I want to mention is that many people have said, why record a video series about supernatural reality? What's the point of this? Well, it's leading to something else. So if you already know these things, then of course this might not be the video study or video series for you. But it's very important that we realize these things. Now, video number 1 was called Journey to the Supernatural. We went to the supernatural and showed that there is actually a supernatural world out there that coexists with the physical world. And these are both real worlds. It's just that the physical world, you can observe it, you can even taste it sometimes. You watch it, you listen to it, you smell it, you do all kinds of things. You use your senses, and you know that the physical world is there. But when it comes to the supernatural, it's harder. I mean, we need the Word of God to be able to understand about the supernatural world. Now, video number 2 was called The Biblical Structure of Reality. Now, this is because the reality is, well, it's easy for us when it comes to the physical world. We know what's real, but when we come to the spiritual world, we don't know as much, because we can't see it, we can't smell it, we can't taste it, we can't touch it with our hands, and that makes it difficult. And that's why we need the Bible, because the Bible will always come true, and the Bible is the Word of God, truly. Now, I've got 5 parts to this video. Video number 3 I've called Thieves of Forever, and point 1 is the Angels of the Dragon. Point 2 is the Acts of Power and Love, which basically is setting victims free. See there, I've got problems pronouncing already. Okay, point 3 is Legion, a Trophy of Grace. Part 4 is King Saul consults a medium. We're going to look at that story just briefly. And fifth and final is kind of like rounding things off with a part that's called Mysticism, Mediums, Witchcraft, and Magic. Now let's move on straight away to the first part, the angels of the dragon. Now you might say, well, who is the dragon? The dragon is Lucifer, Satan, the devil. He's got many names. So, God has his angels who does his will, okay? And Satan has his angels that does his will. Now in Hebrews, I believe we looked at it in earlier, but Hebrews tells us that angels are ministering spirits. So they are ministering for someone, and some of them minister for God, and some of them minister for Satan. We call some of these spirits evil spirits because they do evil things, okay? And they serve Satan, who is an evil being. And this brings us to a word that is very common. I mean, sometimes we talk about the fallen angels, or we talk about them as demons or as evil spirits. Now, the terminology demon is not very known in the Western world. I mean, if you have studied the Bible, you probably haven't. You don't see the word demon very often. You see the word evil spirits more. But in our Western society, we kind of ignore demons. We either don't believe in demons, or we don't believe that they can do anything that will affect us. And the fact is that all angels served God till Lucifer made his rebellion in heaven. Now, you have God's angels on the one side, and you have Satan's angels on the other side. And the dragon that we're talking about is the devil. We read about the dragon in Revelation chapter 12. Verse 1 says, "There appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head. And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them down to earth." This is where we say that there was 1/3 of the angels that fell from heaven when Satan made his rebellion. Lucifer made his rebellion in heaven. Okay? And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to deliver her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man-child, and this man-child is Jesus, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. Now, this is really the area of eschatology, really, but this is what we're talking about. When we talk about the angels or the dragon is Satan. I'm not going to go into all the ins and outs of Revelation chapter 12. We need to do a complete new series for that. So that's not the topic here. Eschatology is not the topic here. So I'm going to leave this, but we see that this is a picture of Satan. And verse 7 says, "There was a war in heaven. Michael," and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought, and his angels and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. Now, as I say, I'm not going to go into this, but I just wanted to read that this is what we're talking about. Or you see that the angels were fighting, and Michael, which is an archangel, he was fighting, and as I do believe I said in the last part, that we have 3 mentions of Michael in the New Testament, actually, the archangel Michael. But some of these spirits has already been dealt with, even like in the days of Noah. And I'm not going to go really in detail about this, but I will like to read a few verses for you. 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 4 says, "For if God spared not the angel that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment, and spared not his old world, but saved Noah, the 8th person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly." So at the time of Noah, there were actually some angels that was cast down to hell, which is really the kingdom of death, and delivered them into chains of darkness. So some evil spirits, and we read about this. Oh, that's a good study, actually, if you go in and you read about what happened just before the flood in the days of Noah, when they thought that the sons of God and the daughters of men, they were marrying, and all this stuff, and says that some evil spirits then at this time, they were chained. And if we read Jude verse 6, don't ask which chapter, because there's only one chapter in Jude, okay? But verse 6 says, "And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day." So these angels that have been chained already, that are not out running loose in our world, creating havoc and problems, those demons or evil spirits that have been chained already, these angels that have been chained, they are actually waiting for the punishment to come, the judgment to come, the judgment of the great day, as it says there in Jude verse 6. So they are chained in confinement, some of these demons. Now, it's interesting that when you go down to Daniel, I do believe I put Daniel 10 in here, Daniel chapter 10, let me read just verses 10 through 14 there for you, okay? "And behold," this is Daniel writing now, "and behold, an hand touched me, which set me up on my knees and upon the palms of my hands. And he said unto me, O Daniel, a man greatly loved, understand the words that I speak unto thee, and stand upright, for unto thee am I now sent. And when he had spoken this word to me, I stood trembling. Then he said unto me, Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand and to chasten thyself before thy God, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me for 21 days. But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia. No, I am come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days, for yet the vision is for many days. And of course, I'm not going to go into the book of Daniel and explain all about his prophecies and all this. Basically, you have Daniel have two parts. You have the historical part for the first 6 chapters, then you have the prophecies and the visions in the last 6 chapters. But here it says that this is the angel Gabriel now, okay, that's come to talk to Daniel, and he says that the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. Now, who was the king of the prince of the kingdom of Persia, you might say? Well, this was a demon or an evil spirit. Now, we said that there are angels, but there is a hierarchy in the spiritual world, in the supernatural. You have ordinary angels, you have archangels, and you have the cherubims and the seraphims, and you have all these things. There are different kinds, but the highest ones would probably be those that they call princes. So there are physical and natural princes in this world, but in the same way, in the spiritual world, you have spiritual and supernatural princes. And what we learn from reading this is that the demons have their own area that they look after. Now, I need to do a single video that I was doing about Mark chapter 5, because I was talking about, and I haven't got this in here, but I was talking about the fact that that demons have their area that they work in. And I know I touched on this in this video. You see, what was the video called? Can't see. I had it in Norwegian. I made it in Norwegian. I will translate it into English because it does bear reference to what this topic that we're talking about. Although I will talk a little bit about Mark chapter 5 later on. But there is a hierarchy of angels, okay? Some are high up, some are further down, and then you got all the way down to ordinary angels. And it's not easy to understand always. I don't think we need to have a proper understanding of the hierarchy of the angels or the spiritual beings to be able to defend ourselves. We got the armor, and of course you can watch the video series that I made about the believer's armor. It's on revlarsvideos.wordpress.com if you go and check out my English videos. But let's just leave that there for now, because it's so easy to get out of track. I need to try and finish this video before it goes too long. Point number 2, acts of power and love. Now, when we talk about acts of power and love, we're talking about setting victims free, and God has been setting victims free for all ages, you could say. Now, Acts chapter 10, verse 38 says, how God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Ghost and with power, who went about doing good and healing all that were oppressed of the devil, for God was with him. An interesting word here that I noticed when I read this is that those that were possessed with devils or with evil spirits, they were healed, they were made well. Now, that's interesting for me, working at a psychiatric hospital, I tell you. But we find that Jesus healed people, and he set people free that were oppressed by the devil. Jesus set people free, okay? Now, unfortunately, demons can come in and possess a human body, and they can rule it, and they can take control of it. And we see many examples of this, not only in the Bible, but also in daily life. Well, depending on where you are, of course, but they have to be let in somehow. And one way you can let in evil spirits into your life is when you are dabbling with the occult. You're playing with the occult. You're kind of like you're trying things out because it's interesting, and you think, oh, this is cool. I want to see what happens if I play with a Ouija board. I want to see what happens if I do this. And some invite the devil on purpose and try to make deals with him, and others just give way to the devil unwittingly. They don't really realize what they are doing, because if they had, they probably wouldn't have. Now, Jesus gave his commission to his disciples in Mark chapter 16. See, Mark chapter 16, got that here. Now, this is the last chapter of Mark. So he comes and says that in verse 15, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, and he that believeth not shall be damned. And verse 17, and these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name they shall cast out devils and shall speak with new tongues. That is also in verse 18, we can include that. They shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover. Now, so when Jesus gave his commission to the disciples here in the last chapter of Mark, he actually gave them a lot. Now, again, people say that, this is probably, I haven't tried to be bitten by a snake. I haven't tried to drink poison and see if I'll live and say that, wow, God is with me. I think that if I did that, God would say, he said, idiot, let him just drink that poison and be dead. But at this time, especially at this time, it was very important that people knew that God was with them when they went out after Jesus went back to heaven to witness about Jesus. And because they were able to do these things, then people thought that, wow, I see this. It has to be true what they're saying. There has to be a God that does this. Jesus himself cast out evil spirits. And we read about that in Matthew chapter 8. Matthew chapter 8, let me read verse 16 to you. And when the even was come, they brought unto him many that were possessed with the devils, and he cast out the spirits with his word, and healed all that were sick. So what Jesus did with those that were possessed, and we'll see this time and time again, we see that he recognized them for what they were, okay? He identified them, and then he ordered them to depart. He always went through this thing, and we see that this is part of the ministry after Jesus went back, that casting out devils was still a part of what they did. Acts chapter 8, let me read verse 5 through 7 there. Then Philip went down to the city of Samaria and preached Christ unto them. And the people with one accord gave heed unto those things which Philip spake, hearing and seeing the miracles which he did. For unclean spirits, crying with loud voice, came out of many that were possessed with them, and many taken with palsies that were lame were healed. So here we see that they're doing what Jesus told them to do. They're healing and they're casting out the evil spirits. And this was, at least this part, it was a very, very featured thing about the church, a thing that they did. And no wonder that the church grew as much as it did in these early days. So let me finish that, go over now to point number 3. And point number 3 is where I would like to record this video in English. It's a single standing alone video. If I translate it directly from Norwegian, it's called Dominating Powers. It's from Mark chapter 5 verses 1 through 13. Let me get Mark 13 here for us. Mark 5. Did I say 13? Mark 5. Mark 5. And this story is probably well known for you. They were in the Gadarenes. They came over to the other side of the sea, verse 1, into the country of the Gadarenes. And when he was come out of the ship, immediately they met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit. Okay, we also have this written down other places in the Bible. This is a story that we find. Who had his dwelling among the tombs. No man could bind him, no, not with chains, because he had been often bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken in pieces. Neither could any man tame him, and always, night and day, he was in the mountains and the tombs, crying and cutting himself with stones. But when he saw Jesus afar off, he ran and worshipped him, and cried with a loud voice, and said, What have I to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of the Most High? I adjure thee by God that thou torment me not. For he said unto him, Come out of the man, thou unclean spirit. And he asked him, What is thy name? And he answered, saying, My name is Legion, for we are many. And he besought him much that he could not send him away out of the country. Now there was there nigh unto the mountain a great herd of swine feeding. And all the devils besought him, saying, Send us into the swine, that we may enter into them. And forthwith Jesus gave them leave, and the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine, and the herd ran violently down a steep place into the sea. There were about 2,000, and were choked in the sea. And they that fed the swine and told it in the city and in the country, and they went out to see what it was that was done, and they came to Jesus and see him that was possessed with the devil and had the legion, sitting clothed and his right mind, and they were afraid. I'll go more into this when I get around to making this single video, but Jesus dealt with evil spirits as intelligent beings, okay? He dealt with evil spirits as evil spirits. Now this man, he was friendless and he was homeless. He was a man that had been created in God's image, but he had been reduced to nothing really, a mockery of what man was supposed to be, especially with God in his life. He was a pathetic captive, a travesty on God's design and loving intent. Now, he was a danger to others. He was uncontrollable. He was described as mad. And he felt more at home with the dead than with the living. He had his home among the tombs. Now Jesus, when he talked, he didn't talk to the man, he addressed the spirits straight away. And the spirits, they feared Jesus. And then we see that he was healed. Verse 15 said that he was sitting and clothed and in his right mind. So he was healed from how he had been. And then these 2,000 pigs ran into the sea. Now, why am I mentioning this story? And I'll probably go on and mention it again in this single video that I really want to record soon. But what is it that about this? It's really the grandness of this story. I mean, earlier this man was just self-mutilating, you know, and he was just running around mad. And then we see that Jesus comes and we see his great power, how much power God has over demons. Now, there were 2,000 pigs, it says in verse 13. Now, that probably means there was at least 3,000 demons or evil spirits. Now, these pigs, they kill themselves, and so instead of hurting the man, they hurt the pigs. But if you think of what the devil said, they said that their name was Legion because there were many. Now, a legion, a Roman legion, is anywhere from 4,500 people, soldiers, shall I say, up to 6,000 soldiers. Now, when they had 2,000 pigs, I'm sure that all of these were possessed. I mean, have you ever thought about the thought that animals could be possessed? It's frightening in a way if you think about it. But, you know, if this one man had so many demons inside him, it could be that the pigs had more than one demon inside them. We know there was at least 2,000. But, you know, it could have been up to 6,000. Imagine if it was like 6,000 demons, evil spirits, inside this man. We don't understand how this is possible even. But what does this story tell us? Mainly, it tells us that God has power. And God can use that power for us. He can use that power to cast out evil spirits. And as we've seen, he can do it through his followers. Okay, point number 4. This is a bit off that road that I've been going to now, but King Saul consults a medium, and this is really talking about, you know, when you start off well, and then you kind of fall flat on your face at the end. I'm going to go to 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter 10. 1 Samuel chapter 10 and verse 10 is talking about... No, let me go to chapter 9 first. Chapter 9 and verse 2. In 1 Samuel 9:2, it says, and he had a son. It was talking about who Saul is now, the first king of Israel. And he had a son whose name was Saul, a choice young man, a goodly, and there was not among the children of Israel a goodlier person than he. From his shoulders and upwards, he was higher than any of the people. So he was a goodly, it says. And if I look at what it says in the Defined Bible here, it says that goodly, that he was goodly, means that he was good looking. He was fine. He was of good size. He was looking good. You know, so Israel said that, we want a king just like the other nations around us. We just don't want you, God, to rule us anymore. We want to be like the others, basically. And they said that, well, he has the perfect guy for you. He is so good looking, and he's high, and he's tall, and he's strong. This is what you want. But God also said that this was going to go bad. But Israel, they had a theocracy where God was ruling the nation, and now they came to Samuel, actually, and to go to God via Samuel, and they said that we want a king like the others. And then Saul got anointed king. That's what they did in the old days. They put oil on their heads, and they anointed them king. And then we come to 1 Samuel 10:10. It says, and when they came hither to the hill, behold, a company of prophets met him, and the Spirit of God came upon him, and he prophesied among them. So we see that Saul, actually, after he was anointed king, he started prophesying in the name of the Lord. So this was a great thing. It was a good thing, and Saul really started off brilliantly. If you go to chapter 16 and verse 14, it says here, but the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord troubled him. So things started to go down because Saul made some bad decisions, and he was maybe too full of himself. But then we see that he got these moods that we see. It was an evil spirit from the Lord, and that sounds like something what's the word I'm trying to say? It sounds like something that's speaking against itself. What is most likely here is that the Lord allowed the evil spirit to torment Saul. But I'm not going to go into here because I don't have time to go into this specific verse. But we know that Saul was troubled, and David came in to play his harp for him, because when he played this nice, soothing music, that then his mood changed, and he got a better mood, you could say. But God actually let an evil spirit torture him. That's actually what happened here, and his personality changed. Already in 1 Samuel 10:11, it says, it came to pass when all that knew him before time saw that, behold, he prophesied among the prophets. Then he said one to another, what is this that's come unto the son of Kish? Is Saul also among the prophets? So we see first that his personality changed for the good. Okay, he changed for the good, and it was after that it just went downhill slowly till he actually got all the way down to how he bowed out of the history books, not in a good way, we must say. Now the last step for Saul is something we read about in 1 Samuel chapter 28 and 29. But let's read 1 Samuel 28. Let me start in verse 4. The Philistines gathered themselves together. Maybe not. I think I'll go and okay. Yeah, I'll read it anyway. And the Philistines gathered themselves together and came and pitched in Shunem. And Saul gathered all Israel together, and they pitched in Gilboa. And when Saul saw the host of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart greatly trembled. And when Saul inquired of the Lord answered him not, neither by dreams, not by Urim, nor by prophets. Then said Saul unto his servants, Seek me a woman that hath a familiar spirit, that I may go to her and inquire of her. And his servant said to him, Behold, there is a woman that hath a familiar spirit at Endor. And Saul disguised himself, put on another raiment, and he went, and 2 men with him. And they came to the woman by night, and he said, I pray thee, divine unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring me him up, whom I shall name unto thee. And the woman said unto him, Behold, thou knowest what Saul hath done, how he hath cut off those that have familiar spirits, and the wizards, and out of the land. Wherefore then layest thou a snare for my life, to cause me to die? And Saul sware to her by the Lord, saying, As the Lord liveth, there shall no punishment happen to thee for this thing. Then said the woman, Whom shall I bring up unto thee? And he said, Bring me up Samuel. And when the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice, and the woman spake to Saul, saying, Why hast thou deceived me? For thou art Saul. Now, why did she scream when she saw Samuel? So she didn't expect to see him, because all this talking to the dead is kind of like they're talking to evil spirits. But I'm not going to go into that. And the king said unto her, Be not afraid. This is verse 13. Be not afraid, for what sawest thou? And the woman said, said unto Saul, I saw God's ascending out of the earth. And he said unto her, What form is he of? And she said, An old man cometh up, and he's covered with a mantle. And Saul perceived that it was Samuel, and he stooped with his face to the ground and bowed himself. And Samuel said to Saul, Why hast thou disquieted me to bring me up? And Saul answered, I am sore distressed, for the Philistines make war against me, and God is departed from me, and answereth me no more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. Therefore I have called thee, that thou mayest make known unto me what I shall do. Then said Samuel, Wherefore then dost thou ask of me, seeing the Lord is departed from thee, and is become thine enemy? And the Lord hath done to him as he spake by me. For the Lord hath rent the kingdom out of thine hand, and given it to thy neighbor, even to David, because thou obeyedst not the voice of the Lord, nor executedst his fierce wrath upon Amalek. Therefore hath the Lord done this thing unto thee this day. No, I'm not going to. But Saul, actually, he wanted to die. In verse number 19, Moreover, the Lord will also deliver Israel into with thee into the hand of the Philistines, and tomorrow shalt thou and thy sons be with me, and the Lord also shall deliver the host of Israel into the hand of the Philistines. That's not what I wanted to see. But Saul was going to die, and Saul got scared in verse 20. Then Saul fell straightway all along the earth, and was sore afraid because of the words of Samuel. And there was no strength in him, for he had eaten no bread all day nor all night. So here we see, this great man that prophesied with straight from God. And then he started not doing what God told him to do. He started doing things his own way, and he ended up consulting a medium. And when you start dabbling into the occult, then you have fallen really as far as you can. That brings me to the final and 5th point of this video. Mysticism, mediums, witchcraft, and magic. Now, you might ask me, what is magic? Now, I found a definition here. It says, The power of apparently influencing events by using mysterious or supernatural forces. Okay, that's kind of like it's an okay definition, I suppose, but might not explain a whole lot to you. But when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about magic spells, I'm talking about magic rites, talking about magic words, talking about enchantments, talking about witchcraft, talking about hexes, talking about charms, talking about so-called communication with the dead, because it's not really, it's communication with devils or with demons, evil spirits, and a lot of practices and meanings there. So there's a lot that's covered by this. Now, many rites and rituals are religious in character, okay, and sometimes it appeals to people. Okay, we find it exciting when we find something is supernatural, and maybe even want to see a film and we say, "Ooh, it's got something supernatural in it," and it fascinates people. But we need to be warned. If you study this, you need to do it the right way. Don't study this topic too deeply. Be selective of the literature that you use, because some of these things are sinkholes that will take us into the occult, and we need to be aware of this. Now, we see today a rise of occultism, astrology, magic, spiritualism and spiritism, and witchcraft. We see this flourishing in our culture today, and people say it's okay. Maybe some people use this as an escape from reality. Well, this is very dangerous, and this is why, one of the reasons why I'm recording this video series. Okay, so I'll come to the end now of video number 3 in about the supernatural reality, and part number 4 is planned in 2 weeks. It's called the challenge of self-possession, and what on earth, you might say, is that all about? Well, if you tune in to YouTube or to my video blog, then you can find out when that next video releases in about 2 weeks. For now, this is me saying goodbye. I hope you found this interesting. I hope that you've been given some new knowledge, some new ideas. I pray that God will be with you till we meet again. Bye.